Love it. Well, hey everyone, we are live on the Overland podcast. We have Tony with Bats Off Road co-host with us,
Hey,
and
buddy.
Matt with OverlandActual, who is
What's up?
down in Baja. So we're going to
Yes,
visit
sir.
a little bit and talk. We've already been talking a little bit behind the scenes stuff. I wish we could tape some of that so we'd have that'd be good B-roll.
I
But
know.
yeah, a
I,
lot of
I
stuff we talked
realized I
about is
was
really
going
good.
through and asking a bunch of questions before the show started.
Yeah, now he's going to have to answer them all again.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
man.
fine by me. I love to
Yeah.
talk, as my wife says, so this will work out well.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So join us with your questions and comments. We'll be right back. You're live on the Overland Podcast.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Overland Podcast. We're excited to be here. We're coming to you live as we do each week, bringing you the latest in all things outdoors and overlanding. The live show contains listeners, so join us with your comments and questions. Here we go. No pros, just bros on this show.
Here we go. No pros, just bros. And we have listeners already in the queue.
There we
Probably number one listener that's my wife. Thank you for being here and supporting us, babe. Man, it has been a pretty wild couple of weeks. We haven't had a live show in a couple of weeks. Tony, your wife turned like 75 last week, so she had a birthday and you had to take off. So in order to stay out of trouble, and her birthday was actually on Tuesday.
Yep.
So we didn't do a show last week. I had to work called, so we didn't get to do anything last week. But dang, here we are. But Matt sent me a message last week, and he said, "I knew I liked you guys for a reason. Y'all are cool. You got a Frenchie, and if you ever need somebody to come on the show, I want to come on the show." And I was like, "Man, we want you on the show." Because I'm interested in hearing your story. It's funny when you start following somebody, you just catch them right then. You don't catch the backstory, and you only see what's going on unless you're Tony, who dives off like a detective, researching everything that you've ever done. Which you did today.
I had their YouTube channel up here on the TV, and I had it just playing, and I was trying to listen and work too. And it was hard to get work done because he's got a Gladiator as well, and I was really into it. So
Matt, I knew when I saw that you had a Gladiator, Tony would be in. He's like, "Oh, we got to get this guy." Because I'm a Toyota guy. I have Toyotas, and so we have a Toyota Jeep thing going on here.
Yep.
And so anytime we can get a Jeep guy on here, Tony's like, "Let's get him.
We need to.
And
do
it. We have fun. We poke at each other. I tell him that I carry the tools so he can work on his Jeep and all that stuff. So, but lately it's been mine that's been breaking down and not his. But his is new and mine's old. So there you go. So Matt, welcome to the show, man. We appreciate you being here. I know it's kind of an ordeal because you're not at home like we are. You're actually out. You're sitting in your Jeep.
Theoretically,
right now, so
I'm in my home.
That's right.
I am in my home. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah, but no, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you're from.
So my name is Matt, my wife Aaliyah, and then we have a 5-year-old Wilder and a 1-year-old Fox, and then our teacup Chihuahua, who I think is behind me somewhere. And in 2021, we kind of got fed up with everything, the rat race and whatnot. So we literally, on a 3-week whim, I came home on October 30th. I said, "Hey, you want to move to Mexico?" We had never been to Mexico, and we were a month pregnant. And my wife's like, "Okay." And then 3 weeks later, we were on a plane. The house was for sale. Everything was for sale. And we were off to Mexico to kind of figure it out. We knew nobody there. We knew nothing about it. We went to just outside of Playa del Carmen, so like 35 minutes south of Cancun.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we got there, we figured it out, and we met some super cool people that were very worldly, with young families that had traveled, that came from everywhere. And so fast forward, our time there was amazing. We had Fox was born there, so we had our Mexican residencies, and we knew Mexico would probably be our end location at one point or another. We love it there. So, but we wanted to travel more and experience a little bit more of life. So we decided in March 2023, I discovered what overlanding was. I'd never heard about it before. And I was like, hey, Aaliyah, you want to get a Jeep and a rooftop tent and just go cruise around? And she's like, okay. And then, so sure enough, we had never been camping as a family. I grew up camping and hunting and stuff like that, but as a family, we had never been out. So we flew back to Canada in summer last year and got the Jeep. And again, we didn't really know what we were doing. So we figured, I was like, well, we need a tent. We need somewhere to put our food, a couple gallons of water to take with us. And that was basically what we started off with. And then once we hit the road is when we kind of figured it out and we added power to it. But we left in December from Canada. It was getting cold. So we left from Canada, and our first camping spot was Gooseberry Mesa in Utah on the side of a cliff. And it was stunningly beautiful. And it kind of kicked off like, all right, well, this is pretty cool. Like, let's kind of, I think this will work. And then, yeah, so now we're in February and we're kind of we're in March now.
Yeah.
And we're down in Utah, and as this is my home, my wife's got to get something because
Out of the home.
Out of the home. Everything we have is literally in the Jeep. So, but yeah, so we've just been kind of, I don't know, figuring it out as we go. It definitely hasn't been easy, but it kind of overcoming the difficulties has kind of made it a little bit easier and more rewarding, I guess, after we get through, bad weather and stuff like that. Because we don't really have anywhere we can go. If the weather's bad, if it's raining, if it's windy, it's it is what we can't be like, let's go next weekend. It's just, we're out here and all our meals are cooked on the tailgate, and it's been pretty cool to figure it out. But I mean, Wilder and Fox have been having an absolute blast. They're playing. We do homeschooling with Wilder now. And yeah, it's cool to see them explore and learn different things. I get to teach, 2 nights ago I was teaching Wilder about high tide, low tide, that kind of stuff. And just, we went digging for everything I get to do with them has made it all more worth it than I thought it would be.
I saw the clip where he was learning about the difference in the beach when the tide was
when
out.
He
was up
it looked
to
like
his
he
waist
sunk in the
mud.
sand.
That was more of because I was making food and I just had the drone ripping around. Him and his mom took a walk on the sandbars, and I heard them from a distance. I heard Aaliyah say, "Wilder, let's go this way," and I heard Wilder say, "No, Mom, we can make it this way." And I watched her walk around, and then I just heard him go, "Mom, I'm stuck." And it just in my head, I was like, well, lesson learned, buddy. Your mom knows best sometimes.
That's right.
Mama knows best, I guarantee you.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. He's learning by doing for sure.
Well, that's cool that you had that attitude of, okay, we have a son, young son, pregnant, let's go anyway. Because a lot of people would have said, use that as an excuse not to go or not to leave a stable home or a stable environment or something like that. So a lot of admiration comes from that about you taking the risk with young children like that, because that's definitely makes life a little tougher. But it also adds a lot more enjoyment in a different way as well.
100%. It was kind of scary because all you ever hear about Mexico and stuff like that until you've actually been there is the dangers of Mexico and how, watch out for this. And as things were happening throughout the country, we'd have family members calling us, oh my God, are you okay? Are you, and, for the most part, it was like forest fires in California when you're living in New York. You know, they're not gonna, you're fine. And there was some things that happened around where we were, but every time, and we'd hear the news talk about, oh, tourists, you know, this happened, that happened, but we would get the actual story, and it's like, well, he wasn't exactly a tourist. He was wanted by Interpol. He, you know, had 18 passports, and you know, or like it's funny to see how things get twisted, essentially, and there wasn't a day in Mexico where we ever felt unsafe. You know, walking around doing our thing, we had basic, I just call it common sense of, you know, don't mess around with drugs, don't mess around people you shouldn't, and don't, you know, hang out after dark, and you'll be fine. And that's kind of, you know, what you should do everywhere to be fine. And so, I mean, it was, it was scary, but again, like you said, it was super rewarding to have those experiences, and to see Wilder. You know, he went to a school literally in the jungle with dirt floors, and he was fluent in Spanish in 2 months. He learned how to swim down there when he was 3. He learned how to ride a bike without training wheels, and because I wasn't working 7 days a week anymore, I was able to experience those things with him, which was super cool for me.
Yeah. Right on.
What and this is a question for me. What made you choose a Jeep to do this?
Well, so the first reason, and this is not, I have a lot of tattoos, and this probably isn't my favorite. It's definitely not Aaliyah's favorite, because it was when I was getting my back done. I was like, hey, man, can you do this? And this was in 2015. So I actually have the Jeep grill on my wrist. So super cool, I know. So it'd be hard for me to be driving a Toyota with a Jeep tattoo on my head.
I get that. Okay, I get
that. And truly what I wanted, and what I like, I find, you know, those older Land Cruisers, when they're done up, and I think they're just sexy vehicles. But I have absolutely zero mechanical inclination or abilities. So I figured something new, full warranty, that was to do what we're doing, because we do want to go all the way into South America. I figured, you know what, I'm going to get something brand new that I have a peace of mind, that I don't need to do too much to it. So and then it was going to be a Wrangler originally, and Iceco was amazing enough to give us a fridge. And when they asked me which fridge I wanted, I kind of got, you know, trigger happy, and I picked a 75-liter VL Pro. Thinking, you know, bigger's better, right? Great fridge. But then I found out real quick that doesn't fit in a Jeep Wrangler. So then we had to bump up to the Gladiator and kind of just adapt as we go, pretty much.
So you are my kind of guy. I swear, every time you say a sentence, I was like, I love this guy, because you bought a Gladiator based on the size of your fridge. And I was absolutely, man, we're soulmates. I'm pretty sure we're soulmates. Because I've also got a 75-liter Iceco VL 75 Pro. And when it came in, I was like, good gosh almighty, that thing is massive. And
huge.
I went from a 55 to a 75, and I think it doubled in size. I really did. I had no idea it was going to be that big. But anyway.
Yeah, and I saw on one of your videos today, you commented about how little power it uses when you
when it's at temperature. Zero consumption, which is awesome.
It's crazy.
The Iceco and the Dometic.
And 75 with 4 people, it's definitely what you got to have, especially down there when you're not coming across a grocery store every day or two.
Well, that's it. And I mean, my wife still finds a way to get more than we can fit in there, because she, especially down here, she doesn't like the grocery stores. It's definitely, if you know, even though we lived here for 2 years, getting used to the grocery stores here is quite difficult. So she stocked up pretty aggressively before we left the US, which thankfully I'm glad about it.
How's the foraging for clams and stuff like that?
Oh man, it was awesome. We kept seeing people doing it, and I grew up on the East Coast, and we do it on my grandmother's sandbars all the time.
Yeah.
And I asked Leah, she's like, "I'm not eating those." I was like, "Well,
No
yeah."
way.
She's like, "I'm not touching that." And then Wilder's like, "Dad, let's go get clams," because wherever we go, he finds something to collect.
Mhm.
And in Utah, it was spent shell casings. In Phoenix, it was golf balls. It doesn't matter. He finds something that he's like, I'm going to scour this earth to find everything I can, which we don't have room for. But I was like, he's like, Dad, let's go find clams. I was like, okay. So we went, and it was super easy. And we filled up a huge bag, threw the little ones back. But yeah, and then we ended up we purged them for a day to get the mud out or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we steamed them and seared them in butter and garlic, and they were. Aaliyah was like, "Well, I wish we would have known this, because it'd be nice to get some more clams." I was like, "Yeah, I told you they're good." Yeah, she liked them; they're delicious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great when you can do stuff like that. You don't have to go to the store and buy those.
That's
and
it.
Try to keep them in the fridge.
Yeah, we just put them in a bucket outside the Jeep, and I kept replacing the water, and yeah, they were delicious. If we go back to that spot, we'll definitely be getting some more for sure. It'd be good in clam chowder.
Yeah. What now that you've been out a while, how long has it been since you've been full time in your Jeep now?
Since December 4th, I think it was.
Okay, so almost 4 months.
Much,
right at 4 months. What are the major hurdles that you've had to overcome in that amount of time? I hate you having to rehash this and live through the nightmares again, but a lot of people are interested in things like that. So
absolutely.
Honestly, there hasn't been one particular moment. It's kind of just there's constant struggles that we at first it was showers was a big one. And then we got one of the geyser shower systems, which has been a game changer. So that, as we go, everything keeps improving. Storage and setup and teardown was an absolute nightmare for the first couple months, because the tent cover was brand new. So we couldn't leave anything in the tent. So I had to take out all the blankets. I had to take out the mattress. We have a mattress topper that came out. The pillows came out. Which was a giant pain to maneuver everything, get it into. We just had one big 50-gallon tote that everything went into. And then now our storage, like our teardown is great. I leave the comforter in there. I leave the mattress topper in there, and it's just the pillows that come out. And I ended up getting 2 20-gallon Husky totes, 4 12-gallon Husky totes, and 3 5-gallon Husky totes. They have the lid on them is waterproof and stuff, because our clothes situation before that was these Walmart or IKEA drawer systems that were in the back of the truck, and we had each drawer in a garbage bag so it wouldn't get dust. And so we got rid of that, and we replaced it with 2 12-gallon totes, which opened up a ton of room, which was awesome. And then just everything else kind of fit a little bit better. And so our storage now and our takedown and setup is like lightning fast compared to what it used to be. So, I mean, that was something that was a hurdle. The biggest one that really sucks is the weather. If it's super windy, or if it's raining, we are confined to the tent. We have an annex, but again, if it's windy, there's a video on our Instagram of Wilder trying to climb up the ladder and be like, I hate the wind. Yeah, the annex is pounding on them. And then all of our food is cooked on the tailgate on a little double burner stove. So regardless of what the weather is, we got to cook outside. So the elements is definitely a hard one to deal with when you're in a tent. A lot of the people we've camped with so far have been in truck campers or actual campers. So we get that envy of like,
Yeah.
man, those hard walls seem nice right now. But
yeah, I think the wind has got to be the worst.
oh yeah, the wind.
All of the conditions,
It's horrible.
and
And plus, out there where you're at, there's nothing really to knock it down. And if you're
Nothing.
camping on the coast, around the ocean, there's always seems to be some kind of. But Tony and I both have camped down in Texas on the beach, and both of us, it was a nightmare because sand got all in his food and bed and all that. And
miserable. Spring break, it was supposed to be, this great week camping on the beach, and the wind blew 30 miles an hour the whole time off the water. Everything was wet, and then it was coated with sand.
Yeah.
That was so our first night in Utah at Gooseberry. That was the one thing that I hadn't planned for. I hadn't anticipated. I hadn't even thought of wind being an issue. And the first night we were sleeping, and all of a sudden, as you can imagine, a full soft shell, tent, it just, once the wind goes, every flap sounds like a jet engine taking off. And I was like, I was like, what on earth?
Sounds like people are outside banging pots together.
Man, we had a buddy in a cube van conversion or something like that, and he was sleeping the one night in Havasu, and he's like, man, how do you sleep? Like your tent woke me up in the middle of the night from the wind going, and I'm in like a hard enclosed unit, and I was like, I don't know, man, I'm kind of getting used to it now, but the wind was definitely a bad one. And I mean, the other struggles are, it's just, I don't know, not having those typical amenities of like, hey, I'm just going to hop into a hot shower right now.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to lay on my bed and watch TV because I'm kind of gassed out, And for me, I'm having an easier time dealing with that for some reason. I try to look at it as more rewarding. And, when we get through those harder times, whatever, we got through it. It made us better, it made us stronger. That's kind of how I try to get through it. Aaliyah, on the other hand, is having a little bit harder of a time in certain instances because she has all of that. Plus she has Fox, he's still breastfeeding. So he kind of gives her a bit of a hard time at nighttime because her nipple is like his soother. Yeah. And if she's around, he has to be on her. He's very needy when she's around. If I take him for a walk or somebody else's camp, he's great. He's no issues. Yeah. But if she's around, he's very attached to her. So that adds another huge hurdle difficulty for her to be, trying to breastfeed him at nighttime when we're sleeping, or always kind of on her, whining to get on her kind of thing. So that takes a toll, as well as, she would love to sit on a couch and watch TV every now and again, or have a hot bath or a hot shower kind of thing. So it's,
do all four of you sleep in the tent?
Yeah, all four of us right now are in the tent. And that was kind of one of the reasons why we figured, let's do a Jeep and a rooftop tent. The boys are still super small and we can all fit. Our bed is a little bit bigger than a queen and a little bit longer than a queen. So space wise is great up there. And as they get older, we'll figure out a different setup. I'd like to get a hard shell canopy with a clam style tent, like a go fast style thing. Mm-hmm. And then maybe Wilder sleeps downstairs, like in the bottom or whatever. I don't know. We're figuring it out as we go. But right now, we sleep quite comfortably. It's nice. It's pretty hot up there when all four of us are breathing. And we have a little Chihuahua, so she doesn't take up much room. But
your wife was cracking me up today. Y'all were talking about your setup and where you might evolve to down the road. And she says something to the effect of, I'm not sleeping in a tent with two teenage boys and my husband. Because I think you're what, 6'2", I think I heard. And so
like
it stands
6'2",
to reason
250. So I mean,
they'll
boys
be big boys.
be.
Yeah. So she's like, no. I'm not doing
Yeah,
that.
can't blame her on that one because I
No.
could only imagine as they get older, the smells will get worse too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
You'll be wearing that geyser out for sure. How hard is it to find fresh water down there where you are?
It's actually pretty easy in Mexico. We use Overland quite a bit, and we filled up today. We have 10 gallons of two 5-gallon bottles that we fill up with our water. So we found a spot today. We filled it up. It was 50 pesos, which equates to like, I don't know, like 250. Same thing as you get in the U.S. or Canada.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's relatively easy, especially with Overland. And in Mexico, you can't drink any of the tap water. So even if you're in a house, like when we were living down there, we would always get those 5-gallon or whatever 20-liter, big water jugs that you put on the water thing. So water wise, it's pretty easy to find water, but we filter everything anyways, especially down here because you never really know.
Never know. They could repackage that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So we just run it through the filter if we're drinking it or doing dishes with it.
You use like a grail or something?
Yeah, we have 2 grails, and I live by those things. I love our grail.
Yeah.
Like, it's quick, and I know that it's going to be actually properly filtered.
Yeah, Joey got me started on those.
No, they're so easy.
Awesome.
So easy.
They are.
Most of the water filters that you find out there is so much work, and the grills are so easy. And
they don't take up room.
They don't take up any room, even the big ones.
Yeah.
And I always keep one in my FJ just in case we run out of water and need fresh water or whatever. But they are the best. So tell us about Baja. A lot of people are interested in Baja, especially from where we are. That's kind of one of the bucket list items around here that people want to go. Tony's always wanted to go to Baja.
Yeah.
So tell us about your impressions of Baja and maybe some pointers, tips, or whatever places to go that you would recommend.
Well, we love Mexico in general, and we had never been to Baja. We actually filmed our second YouTube vlog today when we were driving about Mexico and Baja itself. But the Baja, I love it. It's awesome. The crossing the border, you got to get like 2 hours south of the border wherever you cross, because it's very mainland in those areas. We crossed just down from Yuma in San Luis, and it's not a bad spot when you cross. If you cross Mexicali area, like that first 2 hours, you're kind of like, man, what am I doing here? Like, I don't know. This is where I want to be. Like this, it doesn't smell the best. There's landfills everywhere. It's this isn't a great first impression.
Yeah.
But once you get past that 2 hours, the scenery is incredible. Like everywhere you're going, they got these weird cactuses here that look like Dr. Seuss style Cat in the Hat things. It's just everywhere you drive. Like we drove 2 hours today, and we had already done this stretch, but as we're driving, like, man, this is so beautiful to look out here. And the beaches. So we found a really good spot in San Felipe where it's on the beach, it's free, and if you can air down, you can really get to like your own private little spot anywhere on that beach, and you're right oceanfront, like right on the water, the beautiful sand, and we stayed as well. There was another spot a little further down from there that we stayed a couple hours. Again, private, free. There's a lot of places to pay, but Overland's a good one to look at. But even when we got to the place to pay, we literally just looked and we saw a trail. We're like, I wonder where that goes. And being in a rig like we're in, we're like, oh, let's go explore and figure it out. And we drove, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and it was this like wide open bay that was just you were surrounded by the mountains, and you had the water kind of right there. It was a great spot to be. We stayed 2 or 3 nights there. There was a bunch of beechwood, had a little fire. And then we went down to Bay of LA, which is a few hours south again. Bay of LA is a nice spot, but the beach was like more like stones, like little pebbles kind of thing. It wasn't sand. But again, beautiful spot. A lot of our friends love tacos, and you can get a taco pretty much anywhere here, but we love our gorditas, which is like a pancake with meat in it. And that's, if I find a gordita spot anywhere, that's always my go-to, because I could live off those things. But yeah, I highly recommend anybody that has a week to spend down here, even a couple days. Like our first trip down here was 4 nights, and then that's when we headed back up. But it was amazing. Like if you can spend a week, 5 days, whatever, and you can get to like San Felipe, which isn't far, about 2 hours from the border. It's like highly recommended and worth it. And to be honest, like I was saying before, there's no safety issues down here at all. We haven't felt unsafe. We haven't, we have a rule. If we have any kind of gut feeling about somewhere, if it's me or Leah, we don't question it. We move to another spot, and we've felt none of that here. I was airing up this morning when we were leaving, made the mistake of airing up right before we got on the highway. And I had because I had the hood up, and I had probably close to 10 different random Mexican local vehicles pull up, be like, ask us if we're okay, and make sure that, offer to help. And I was like, no, I'm just airing up, all good. And there is a language barrier. Nobody here speaks really any English, but they're all super, super patient, and they kind of laugh with you as you're trying to like figure out what each other's saying. So there's no we haven't found a reason not to come down here yet. We haven't had, there's check stops in certain spots, and they'll just ask you like, hey, where are you going? I'm going to San Felipe. Okay, where are you from? Canada, US. Sometimes they'll ask you what you do, and just, I'm in sales. Okay. And they'll ask me to open up the back. They'll look in, they'll be like, oh, fridge. Okay. Food. Okay, cool. They won't poke around. They just kind of look like, all right, cool. And then off you go. It's intimidating at first, because, they have whatever rifle that's hanging off their chest that's dragging on the ground. And, they're very straight faced. There's no like laughing at first, they're very into it. And even our last check stop, he kind of, as I was zipping up the back, the door was open, and he kind of poked his head in, and he looked through the side net on my door, seeing what was in there. And he asked Aaliyah to open up the center console, and he's just like, okay, see you later. There's
what are they looking for?
They're looking. So that's one thing we learned in Playa was if they have anything. So for instance, pocket knife. You can't have a pocket knife down here. That's a huge no. So when we came down here with other people originally, I said, okay, put all your knives out of your cab and put it into your dishes, or your, where you do your cutlery or whatever. Nothing to do with weed. They're super, heavy on weed. Is a big one that that they will take full advantage of. And anything ammunition or guns. So we had some friends from Washington, and they came down here, and we haven't had that in Baja, but in Playa, I had it a few times when, if they'll just ask you to stop, you stop, and then they'll say, is it your car? Yeah, it's my car. And then they'll ask you to get out, and I always kind of say they turn into like a crack addict looking for that rock that fell between the seat cushions, because they will dive into that car and try to find whatever they can. And they ended up finding spent 5.56 casing that was like under the carpet, and it cost them 2 hours in jail and $2,500 US just for
my goodness,
a shell.
Wow.
And yeah, so nothing in that regard at all. We I had a story when I was down there. After jiu-jitsu, I drove my buddy to a cenote, and for driving him, he gave me this bud of weed. And he's like, hey, thanks for driving me, man. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. And I put it in the center console and I drove off. And on this little jungle road back to the main road, it was probably 3 football fields long, but I could see like a white and blue kind of object at the end of the road. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but like, I don't have a great feeling about it. So I opened the center console and I chucked it into the jungle as I drove. And as soon as I got there, sure enough, it was one of their police trucks. And he stopped me, asked me whose car it was, asked me to get out. And then he dove in, started looking around. And as I was answering his partner's questions or whatever, she's taking my information, he asked to look in my fanny pack that was across my chest. And I had just pulled out probably about 5,000 pesos from the ATM. So when he opened the fanny pack up, he saw that I had cash on me. And as soon as he saw that I had cash on me, it was like a light switched and he dove back into that car and was like hounding for something because he knew whatever he found, it would just be a quick, well, you can pay your ticket over there or you can pay your ticket here. Right. And your ticket's going to be whatever's in your fanny pack. Right. So those situations happen quite often. I haven't seen it here, haven't heard about it here. In the mainland area, you'll have those situations. So it's we always say just don't do anything, drive the speed limit, don't have anything in your car that you shouldn't have, and you'll be fine. They're not, they're not going to plant something. They're not going to be, and they're never really dicks about it either. They're quite respectful and nice. And, but if they find something, well, then they're going to find something. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So it's kind of like driving in the US. Drive the speed limit.
Yeah.
Drive the speed limit. Don't have things that you shouldn't have, and you'll be fine.
Exactly. It's that common sense again of just don't do, especially here, don't do anything you shouldn't do because they'll take full advantage. And it's one of those when it comes to the language barrier, and it's very intimidating when you're dealing with authorities down here because you don't know what they're saying. And, if they decide to arrest you or whatever, then, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? My whole life, there's always been a joke about don't get thrown in a Mexican jail because you might never get out, so I don't think that's ever changed. I don't think it's ever changed. No. So that's one place you don't want to go, and spending, your friend spending 2 hours there, that's probably a good thing.
So have you been to Punta Final? Am I saying that right? Punta Final?
No. No, we've only done the East Coast so far. So this route, we want to go down to basically La Paz, Cabo area. Tomorrow we're going to drive to Guerrero Negro. And then there's that's on the West Coast. And then from there, we're going to hop back to the East Coast, work our way down. And then I want to do the West Coast to head back up.
So do you know, I suppose you've heard of Trail Recon and Marco Overland X.
Yeah, absolutely.
They filmed an amazing trip down to Punta Final on the east side. And it's just been on my list. I got to go there someday.
Yeah, is that the
Marco
one that he did with Mischief Maker Molly or some of that with Onyx?
Holly, Holly.
Yeah.
She I don't know. I think she's got a blue Jeep.
They did a trip, him and her. I think it was last spring, something like that. Yeah. And they went to a spot on the East Coast or on the West Coast that I really want to get to. Yeah. I've messaged him a couple times and asked him for some places to go and a few tips and tricks about this place because he really is, as far as I can tell, he's probably the best source of information and reference when it comes to coming down here.
Yeah, Marco spends a lot of time
his cooking shows.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So do you have and I like to ask this of all the people that we talk to that are doing this full time because everybody does it different. But do you get to a place and stay there for a little while? Do you have a timetable or a place that you want to get to, a goal, or is it just you wake up, I think we want to spend another day here, and you do? Or what's the schedule like when you're on this trip?
Man, there isn't really a schedule. Kind of like we're not even really good when it comes to finding where we're going to go next. It's just like, okay, well, we gotta leave and go fill up our water, or before it was we got to go have a shower, or we got to get more groceries. And once you pack up, it kind of becomes like, well, we're packed up, like let's go to a different spot. As hard as that is sometimes, because I do get comfortable and I like knowing where I am, but yeah, it's more of a, once we're packed up, we hit the road and we start going a direction. Like at first it was chasing hot weather. And yeah, we'll hit the road and I'll say, okay, well, we're going from here to down here. And depending if we, get on the road early enough or what's going on, do we spend 3 hours at the store when we only wanted to be there for a half hour? And now we're back on the road. It's I'll get Aaliyah hop on Overland and she'll find a spot somewhere. She'll be like, oh, this looks like a good spot. This looks like a good spot. And I'll be like, okay, well, let's go check it out. And as much as we want to always be somewhere before it gets dark, we've had more nighttime setups than daytime setups, just because we are so, in a way, unorganized, unfortunately. But that's kind of the life that we get when we're doing this with the kids. And there's always, we want to hit like this morning, we wanted to be on the road at 9 and it was 11 by the time we drove off the beach, because we had stayed 4 nights in a place and the truck became a catch-all for everything. And it wasn't the quick getaway we wanted. But there isn't really, like our Baja trip, we've met so many Canadians and Americans. They're like, oh, where are you going? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know. We're just cruising and finding spots as we go. And
I love that.
Yeah,
that's great. When you get to the place, and I'm one, when I get to a beautiful spot, it's really hard for me to leave sometimes. When you get to that perfect spot, that everything just clicks, the weather's perfect, the views are perfect, everybody's happy. You really don't want to mess that up. And so you want to stay there a few days.
I just got back from a 5-day guys trip, and the second night was a great campsite on the river. And I was like, man, I kind of want to stay here.
I'm sure you have quite a few of those down there. But I love it when you get to the point where you don't know what day it is, you don't know what date it is, you don't care.
I have no idea on days, and I don't know how many days we're at San Felipe at the last spot we were at. I don't know what day we got there. I know today's Tuesday because we spoke last week and you said, hey, Tuesday the 5th. And doing this podcast was the only reason I knew what date today was, because I knew I was doing this. We're for now enjoying not having a set schedule, not having anywhere to be. We know we want to do the Overland Expos and a few events this summer, but other than that, we don't really have anything else really dictating where we're going or what we're doing. We're meeting, the people we're with right now, they have 2 kids, and we met them at the beach in San Felipe, and they're like, yeah, we're probably going to leave on Monday and head down to Guerrero Negro. I was like, cool. Like, we'll they're like, you want to come? I was like, yeah, we'll come with you guys. And we spoke on Sunday, and they're like, I don't know, we might just stay another night. I was like, cool, we'll do that too. And we have all right, sure. So yeah, it's
nice.
Easier, but
it's really, really nice too when you have kids and you meet other people with kids. That makes it easier on you. Makes it easier on your wife. Entertaining the children makes all the difference in the world.
And especially for him too, like he wants to meet friends.
So Well, as overlanders, we're gearheads, and I know that you started out where you started out and where you are now are probably a completely different place. But what is some of your favorite gear that you have that you cannot live without? You've already talked about your geyser
Oh
shower
man,
system. Is there anything else?
it again as we go, we're adding things, and there's a lot of like small things that I'll add, and I'll be like, oh, that was a nice little. We have a I forget who makes the phone mount, the bullet. It's a bullet point.
Bullet point.
Bullet points, yeah.
Yes, that's our
Yep.
phone mount. Like that's my phone mount, and that's one thing that I can't live without. Like this little Amazon lights, the Lumiere thing. This is
Oh
this
yeah.
is what we use. It's fantastic. It blows up, and we'll use it as a lantern outside the Jeep. Stuff like our rugged radios. We just got a set of these, and Wilder can take his and take off, and I know I can still talk to him. Little things like that are incredible, but definitely things that that our power system, having onboard power. I don't think we could go back to not having the onboard power at this point. It's an absolute
huge.
game changer to have
Power and
that.
solar. I don't know how anybody does anything without power and solar. I just don't
And we
get it.
didn't. We spent our IceCo was just a cooler for the first 2 month and a half of on the road. It was just ice bags in that thing because we didn't have any power hooked up yet. We didn't have batteries hooked up, so it was just a cooler. And now that it's an actual fridge, I'm like, oh man, this thing has lights in it.
Yeah.
Like, what? This is fantastic.
Whole new level of cool when you got power.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's
So, like connectivity, are you on a Starlink right now, or do you have service where you're at?
we're on Starlink. That was the first our Starlink was the absolute first thing that I purchased it when we were still in Mexico and had it sent to Alberta because I knew A, I'm going to work from the road, and B, I don't want to not ever have some, like, we have zero cell coverage down here for some reason.
Mm.
We have a Mexico cell phone plan with our provider in Canada, and we have not had a single bar this entire trip. So having the Starlink has been not necessarily a game changer, but it makes you feel a lot safer.
Yeah.
Like worst case scenario, I can plug that thing in, and again, that onboard power comes into play. I can plug that thing in, and we can have, we can reach who we need to reach or whatnot. So having the Starlink has been a massive tool for us to have with us.
Yeah. So you're powering you're charging your onboard power with the Gladiator when it's running and solar when you park, or how's that?
No, so I'm not even powering the batteries when I'm driving because I got an Amazon special breaker that's under the hood, and unless the hood is up and the truck is running, as soon as that hood goes down, it overheats and it pops right away. So
Okay.
I need to fix that. But right now we're just using DC to DC, and we didn't have room for solar at first. Reorganizing everything, now we have room to put some panels in there, and that's definitely the next thing we're going to do. But our tent is over the cab, which I hate. I don't like the look of it. And it's bad for fuel mileage. So once we get a hard canopy or a hard shell tent of some sort where we can move the tent over the box, then we'll have racks up top. We'll be able to have some solar, hard mount the Starlink, stuff like that. But right now it's just DC to DC.
Gotcha. Okay.
Man, I love it because we tell people all the time, don't wait till you have everything to go. And if you would have waited till you had everything like you wanted it, like perfect, you'd still be stuck at home and you wouldn't be experiencing all this. It's not ideal and it's difficult, and you have hurdles that you have to get over. But think about the memories that you would have missed out on if you would have stayed home waiting to get everything perfect. So we tell everybody all the time, go out, figure it out. You can figure it out, and you can always change things later.
As long as you have the basics that you need, we had a place to sleep and a place to keep our food and water. And that's kind of, that's our connectivity with Starlink. And I was like, well, there's not, much else that we need yet. So let's just kind of give her and figure it out. And like we've been doing, we're just, we just got a Viair air compressor, and that was the same thing. We didn't know we needed one until we got stuck on the beach and somebody aired us down, and we used this compressor to air back up. And I was on our way back down. I was like, no, we need to get a compressor. And I'm cheap, so I just got a valve stem removing screwdriver for $5. But that's
whatever works,
right? A couple extra valve stems, of course, but that's what we use, and that was something that we adapted and added to the setup.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, Michael was on that trip that we talked about. We all got to benefit from Caleb's Starlink. It was pretty handy.
It's nice when somebody has one you can borrow.
Oh yeah,
you have one yourself. So somebody that we always talk to people all the time that are, what you're doing is their end goal. They want to either retire or they want to find something that they could do to work out on the road or do this full time because travel is their top priority. That's what they want to do for the rest of your life. So what advice or what things have you been through that you would tell people you need to do this or you need to avoid this? What advice would you give to somebody who's wanting to do that?
Oh man. Honestly, there's a lot of things to avoid for sure. But the advice I always kind of give people is just go do it. Just, if you want to do it, go do it. For us, I looked at it when we left in 2021. I was in car sales and finance in the car sale world. And to me, I said, you know what, absolute worst case scenario and all of this fails and we have to turn back because, we have $0 to our name. I'll just go back to selling cars. And at this point, if everything were to fail and I had to do that, I'd go back to selling cars, having spent the last 3 years spending every waking moment with my sons, watching them grow up, with my wife, spending, last night we sat on the tailgate and had some cheese and crackers while we watched a movie on the iPad. And just, it was a very roughing it type of hangout, but it was amazing. We were under the stars on the beach. Like, if all else fails, I wouldn't regret, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't do anything different because it was incredible. I'd probably do something different to make sure it didn't fail, but especially nowadays with, Starlink and the ability to work on the roads, we meet tons of people that all have different jobs that they do from the road and that they do just fine, because when you don't have a mortgage payment, you don't have all those insurances, you're not heating your, all the utilities you're paying for, your monthly nut is much smaller than you would ever imagine. And so you can live off a lot less than you need to when you're living in the city, living in the house, that kind of thing. And I mean, when we hit the road, since I left in 2021, I think I've started and failed 4 or 5 businesses that didn't work out. I tried a job online, didn't work out. I was going to start a business before we left Canada, and it just didn't work out because our timing, and we left later than we wanted to. And once I hit the road, it was, again, as soon as we're on the road, we're like, all right, well, let's try to figure something out to bring some income in. It's not easy. It has its difficulties for sure. But we ended up, we believe wholeheartedly and put it out there, and it will, manifest itself if you truly want it. And for us, that's kind of what we did. We just kept chipping away at it. And we came to some pretty tight spots where we were really, making sure that we weren't doing any unnecessary spending. But it's definitely something that I would highly encourage everybody to do. And it's one of the reasons we're kind of doing it is that we we want to show other people that, hey, just sorry, I gotta fix the lighting here. It's
That's all right. Guess it got dark where you are.
yeah, I had to. There we go. It's one of those things like you won't regret doing it, and we want to show. Geez, Louise, what are you getting now, dude? That's the joy. I forgot to hit the door lock button when his mom left.
Hey, that's real life, man. That's real life. I love it.
Tell him we said hi.
Yeah.
Wally, you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
You can't
How are
hear them, but
you?
you're saying hi. How are you?
I could hear.
Yeah. How are you? What are you doing? You watching Goonies?
Uh-huh.
All right, buddy.
How's Goonies? Yeah. Okay. I'm done.
He's off.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we try to show other families and stuff like, hey, just because you've never been camping or just because the family's growing, it doesn't mean the adventure stops. It doesn't mean, go for that weekend adventure, even though you have 2 kids and the space is tight kind of thing. It's so incredibly rewarding to be doing what we're doing. And we meet a lot of people and we often kind of laugh and joke about it. And that there's so many, songs and movies and stuff like that about chasing your dreams and going on that adventure and kind of just chasing happiness in a sense, as corny as it sounds. But the stuff that I get to do with Wilder and Fox and Aaliyah is so, I can't put it into words how special it is for us and how amazing it is. And we're so grateful and thankful that we did do this crazy ambitious leap and say, let's go live in a rooftop tent. I wouldn't necessarily suggest go live in a rooftop tent. It definitely, maybe do a shakeout run, which we never did and should have done. But yeah, like what the worst case scenario to taking that leap is never as bad as we tell ourselves it is.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like
it's
does. Never,
makes a lot of sense.
This is the road dog.
Oh my goodness. How cool. Oh, blind in one eye?
Blind in one eye, not a teeth in her mouth.
Oh, wow. Well, my little pup's blind in one eye too, so got something in common there. Well, tell everybody we're kind of reaching our time limit that we like to stay within here. Matt, tell everybody where they can find you and follow your journey.
So our Instagram is at OverlandActual. Our YouTube's at OverlandActual. Our Facebook at OverlandActual. Our TikTok that we don't overly post on is at OverlandActual_. And yeah, we're not great at cinematography and photography. We're not, that wasn't our job before, but we're trying to get better. We're trying to post as many videos as we can and as much content as we can. It's tough because I'll ask Aaliyah, like, hey, you should get content of when I'm doing stuff like this. And she's like, I don't want to be on my phone. I'm trying to enjoy things. Yeah. So we're trying to get better at capturing certain moments like that and share it, because we know that the people who do follow us do want to see those things and see how we do certain things. So you can find us on all those things, and that's kind of our channels that we're trying to grow as we go and get better at posting more stuff.
How did you come up with the name? What does the name mean?
I've always been a big radio kind of communications fan of things, and I originally, our name when we started this was either Lifestyle Overland or Overland Lifestyle. I forget the one it was, because like I said, I didn't know what overlanding was, and I didn't know that somebody else had a very similar name to that. And so when we started, they actually took quite a bit of offense to us having a similar name to them, and that caused a little bit of drama. So I was sitting at my table, and I had all my ham radio stuff, and I was like, well, OverlandActual, that's not taken. It's to me, I was like, oh, it sounds kind of cool. So that's the name that we went to in radio comms kind of background. Just Aaliyah's not the biggest fan of it. She's like, when I put the sticker on the truck, she's like, I didn't know we were going to stick with that name. I was like, well, we are now.
Right on.
I love it.
Nice.
I love it. Well, Matt, we really appreciate you coming on. I want to encourage everybody to give them a follow and a like on everything. Keep up with them, seeing how they're doing, and
yeah, man, and let us know if you're going to be in the area. If you're coming into town, maybe we can go camp or something.
Yeah,
Well, we're for sure going to be at More Expo, and that's kind of our when we come back in the U.S. We would like to head east and then head north because my mom's up in New Brunswick, Canada, so that's just above Maine. So we want to go see her. So that we'll be in and around that area because that we'll definitely be there. And I want to try to go camping with Tate and get some of those good cooking meals. And we'll
have to
definitely go with you guys.
Yeah, we'll work something out where we can all get together.
Yeah,
absolutely. That'd be awesome.
Well, everybody, I appreciate you joining us on the show. I want to encourage you to get out there and give Matt and his family a follow. Matt, tell your family that we said hey, and we appreciate them lending you to us for an hour or so.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Hope everything's still standing when you get out of the Jeep there. So
it's dark, so I can't tell, but we'll
I know
see.
having little boys, you never know. You never know.
Never,
the tent could be in the ocean. I mean, I swear, having little boys.
Yeah.
Well, everybody have a great week. Go out there and get yourself a Jeep grill tattoo on your wrist and have a wonderful week. Look out for number 1. Cool. Don't step in number 2. We're out.